Well, today we are doing Gojo versus Sukuna. So, yeah, we will try to figure out which one is better, which one you should spend your rerolls on, and more importantly, which one you should get. Anyway, I hope this video helps you to spend your rerolls in the right manner. Well, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, of course. Let's head to the video. So, let's start with Gojo. As you can see, Gojo is a full AoE unit. He also has a full AoE time stop, his special ability. When I activate his special ability, he will be buffing himself, lower his long ass SPA, bro. This is very long. I don't understand why his SPA is long, but he is a full AoE character, so I cannot yap that much about it. So, his new familiar allows him to do a lot. When an enemy leaves this unit range, activate Void for 2 seconds and fires attack 3. If you don't know, this 2 seconds this Void or domain expansion doesn't stop the enemies outside this range. I don't know if it is a bug or maybe a problem of mine. I'm not understanding it. But if you want to know what is this attack 3, it is just this attack, the purple line AoE type of thing, which can be viable in some places, like when you are trying to target a boss or a boss leaves your Gojo's range. But if it's not a boss issue, I don't know, like when there is leak and they are pretty tanky, bro, I'm not sure, but I think Monarch Gojo should handle them. Another problem will be his single hit, and yeah, I know the last stages the game offered doesn't have that much shielded enemies, but I know maybe next update we might have a shielded enemies problem, and there are new type of enemies like I don't know, I cannot measure that that much on top of my head, but I know that they are enemies that prefer you to like do multi-hit instead of like single hit, which is pretty much an issue. But if you got Monarch is the best, and yeah, but I'm not gonna say that right now. Let me keep talking. So his time stop also boosts his damage by like 50%, so this damage will stay after the domain expansion ended for like 30 seconds before it will go automatically. Now it stays for a bit. So that is quite a DPS improvement. But if you don't know, my friends, 30 seconds in a TD game is pretty low, and sometimes it can feel quite long. But mostly if you are fighting a boss that is tanky, well, you have a chance. But I wouldn't say every single time. I'm not a Gojo hater, I'm a Gojo fan, but man, this 30 seconds isn't that much. I think like they should have included in his familiar to be like 1 minute, I don't know. Anyway, now let me summon an boss so I can show you more things he can do. I'm gonna use the 130 multiplier. Okay, bro, why the heck Gojo is up there, bro? I'm not understanding. Anyway, I'm gonna time stop so you will see his DPS increase. You can see that Gojo has like 20k DPS now, and Gojo lowers his SBA by to 9.9 seconds. I don't know why, but the domain expansion doesn't really last that long. Let's wait and see. When the boss leaves his range, he will do the 2-second time stop, which I'm not sure if it does even work or something, but it feels almost non-existent for some reason. 2 seconds isn't that much, to be honest, and I'm not sure. You can see that these units are stunned because he already used the 2-second domain expansion, but the other animation was going on. He also did the attack 3, which I'm not sure if it does deal that much damage, not gonna lie. I know I have like non-Monarch Gojo, so that's why it is feeling quite underwhelming. But you can see that the boss will go ahead and leave the range. So because Gojo is quite slow. Let me just do the time stop one more time so we can see his potential, I guess. I'm not sure, bro. Even though he lowers his SPA, it doesn't go that far, and it will probably be a problem when the boss is quite tanky and you cannot take it out. I probably know big next update they might give us some hard content. So yeah, he will do the attack 3, which hits anywhere the bosses go, but yeah, you can see what I mean. Anyway, Gojo can feel or be a competent unit because of his damage, but aside from his damage, or let's say DPS, he can feel quite underwhelming because of his SPA, and his familiar passive does help a bit, but really not that much, bro. I thought it was broken, but yeah, I might be wrong. So yeah, now let's talk about the King of Curses, Sukuna. Let me just start this real quick so I can give Sukuna get some money. Okay, money up. Anyway, bro. Oh my god, bro. I don't know what is wrong with most. Anyway, let's start. So when you do his knife upgrade, he will get fire element. So this unit has cosmic and fire, or isn't that cosmic? Yeah. Yeah, curse and fire element. So this curse and fire element is not that much of a difference, but if we go through his passive, you will see that this fire element attacks inflicts burn for like 30% of this unit's damage. Also, when he acquires this, he will be immune to status effect burn. That isn't that important because it is in his base kit anyway. So when we check his familiar, now we are talking. Before upgrade 9, he cannot, or he only applies cleave before upgrade 9, and after upgrade 9 you can't, but now you can apply cleave on every attack and buffs all curse unit. If you don't know what that means, is that even though if you put Kaguya in Sukuna team, or just include Sukuna and placing down Sukuna will give like 30% more damage to Kaguya, which 30% more damage is a lot of difference from like in many teams and many. So basically, while Sukuna is pretty broken, and his second other passive too, we didn't talk about that yet, so I cannot talk about what I think about it. So when we summon a boss or a strong enemy, Sukuna can do his attack 2 on first hit only. So yeah, you will see, and his attack 2 is a multi-hit, which is pretty good. And also, you gotta remember, he also has a nuke of 300% damage. So when I do this, he can also get like 30% more damage after applying cleave to many enemies. I didn't this time, but his DPS can go to up to 17k to 18k if you add the fire burn damage. His DPS can go pretty high, and his SPA isn't that long like Gojo's 10 or 10 second or 9, let's say even 8 second, bro. 8 second is still pretty long, bro. Like 8 second is pretty long. We want to just play real quick, do our 5-minute stuff, and like, yeah, you understand it. So let's compare them now after showing you how are their capabilities. What I think about Sukuna or Gojo. Sukuna is a pretty quote-unquote versatile unit because Sukuna can buff curse unit, which is an upside to him, and he also deals a lot of DPS. He has a nuke in him and a lot of stuff. Well, you can say sometimes, yeah, Sukuna doesn't support or cannot time stop of stuff like that, but man, when you are dealing a lot of DPS and like, you don't pretty much need like what I'm gonna say again, you don't need a time stop or a slow, I'm not sure, bro. If you are doing that much DPS, having like Monarch, you should be able to do like 30k to 50k DPS if I'm not wrong. It might even be more because I didn't watch that many videos about the Sukuna Monarch, but all I know is he does a lot of DPS. There's an upside to Gojo, but let's talk about Sukuna. Sukuna passives are broken. His familiar is pretty good, allows him to have more versatile. You can build him with more versatile teams and stuff like that. And also, if you got like a fire support, yeah, you can support Sukuna with it and he will deal even more damage. But our boy Gojo here, what is the problem with Gojo? I want to say Gojo is pretty bad or mid, bro. Gojo should be even the top 20 units in the game. I don't say Gojo is mid because I know many people, if the unit isn't that good, they will say it is mid. I know it is tower defense, but man, you gotta chill. Let me talk. Gojo per familiar or Vanguard familiar doesn't really allow him to fix his issues, which is with his domain expansion. Let's say that his domain expansion will lower more SPA. Gojo would have been closer to Sukuna in terms of DPS and viability. And also his 2-second time stop is almost non-existent. I don't know if this is a bug, but someone gotta let the dev know they should buff Gojo even more, bro. Because 2-second quote-unquote time stop, this is not an anime, this is a tower defense. We gotta remember that this is a tower defense. 2-second is nothing. And when he does this quote-unquote 2-second what is called again, 2-second time stop, you don't even notice it that much, because most of the time only enemies inside his range will have a type of stun effect, not a time stop, but they will mostly have a stun effect, which is different from his time stop, because time stop will have like a I don't know, a timer icon on top of the enemy heads, but they are unrelated from each other. That means that when he stuns the enemy, you can also time stop, if I'm not wrong. They doesn't what is called again, yeah, they doesn't affect each other, so they are pretty different from each other. It is unlike from like anime adventures having cooldown with slow and stun. Is not the same thing. But what I'm trying to say is the 2-second from his domain or void is not useful, and this fire attack 3 can only be useful on like boss enemies. Aside from bosses, enemies that are like these type of enemies will probably avoid it, because let's say Gojo tried to like target someone over here, and while he has like a line, so sometimes when you try to target enemies, you will probably miss them if there are a lot. But if there are less, like bosses, yeah, you are good. But that doesn't mean that Gojo is still better than Sukuna though. Gojo SPA is pretty much one of Gojo's problem. Gojo's most biggest problem or biggest issue, because his SPA is pretty long, and even though this gives him some damage, yeah, doesn't mean that much. And also the void stays active. The damage you gain from the void stays active for like 30 seconds more, can be a game changer in certain part or certain maybe I don't know if you play tournament. I don't too, but this should be sometimes viable for tournament, but I wouldn't say all the time, because 30 seconds isn't that much in a tower defense game, like I said. So Gojo gotta have even a slightly buff, but anyway, this is still a good one, and I'm not gonna say the dev should quote unquote must buff him. That's not that necessary, but Sukuna is better than Gojo. After all I up about, yeah, Sukuna is pretty much better than Gojo. If you already have a Monarch Gojo, don't worry, you're still fine. You can just go for other Monarch. But if you are trying to go for Monarch Sukuna and you don't have Monarch Gojo or Monarch Sukuna, I would say Sukuna will be a better pick, because Sukuna burns support and also has a nuke. And if you don't know, nuke can be really good in this game, like bosses or stuff like that. Like one of the reason why Vanguard Sanjinu was really good is because of his 3 nukes, and those 3 nukes are pretty broken. And you gotta remember that Sukuna can use these nukes more than once in each game. Like 180 seconds is like a 3 minutes, 3 minutes, and 3 minutes can be a lot, but yeah, bro, if you are playing like a 10-minute game mode, bro, you're good, bro. So Sukuna better than Gojo? Yes. Is Gojo trash? No. People are making this kinda I don't know. They are making Gojo look very mid. Gojo isn't that mid. I know he isn't that good on Sukuna level or like the top 10 of the game. He is still good, and he might even be in the top 10 best unit in the game right now. But still, Gojo has pretty much some drawbacks, like his 2-second time stop is useless. But anyway, good luck if you gonna go for Sukuna Monarch, and if you going for Gojo Monarch because you're a big Gojo fan, bro, I don't hate you, and I would say isn't that bad choice. But hey, good luck out there. But after watching the video, don't tell me you're not gonna subscribe. I want you to subscribe to the channel right now, like the video. Anyway, Cyber out of the game.